Hello guys, so today we are covering the last section of Unit 8. This is 8.8, solving quadratics by the quadratic formula. And we've used parts of the formula. This right here is the formula. We've used parts of this already, just unknowingly that it was part of the quadratic formula. This portion here that I'm circling, the negative b over 2a, that's your axis of symmetry formula. What's underneath the radical, the square root symbol? That is the discriminant. So we have used all of the formula in separate pieces. Now we're pulling it all together and using it. The big thing you have to remember is it must be in standard form. It has to be in this y equals ax plus bx, ax squared plus bx plus c form. You've got to get it equal to 0. So if it's not, you have to rearrange it. This one is very nicely for us. So the first thing that we're going to do is label what the a equals, which is 1, b equals -5, and c equals -36. Yes, you must label them. And then we substitute these values into the quadratic formula and simplify. Plug and chug. Here we go. So I'm going to have, since that's a -5, I'm putting it in parentheses so that I will calculate it correctly. So I'm going to have x equals negative, parentheses, -5. Just plug right now. Don't calculate yet. Plug it in first, and then we will calculate. Second square root of -5 squared minus 4 times 1 times -36. All over 2 times 1. And now we simplify. I'm going to have the negative times a negative. So that's going to give me a +5 plus or minus. Now I can do the -5 squared. So that's going to give me underneath the square root symbol, 25. And now here I can do all three of these. Is -4 times 1 is -4. -4 times -36. I can punch it in the calculator and get that that's going to be a +144. All over 2. And now we're going to combine what's underneath the radical. So I'm going to have 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 all over 2. So I've got x equals this. Now, this is where we have to kind of change up our game a little bit, because you notice in here it says plus or minus. That means I'm going to have to work 2 separate problems. So I'm going to have x equals 5 plus 13, because the square root of 169 is 13, all over 2. And then I'm going to also have x equals 5 minus 13 divided by 2. We have 2 scenarios here. One's the addition, one's the subtraction. And now we solve the problem. So 5 plus 13, that's going to give me 18 divided by 2. So I get x equals 9. 5 minus 13, that's going to be -4 divided by 2. So that's going to give me, not -4, that's -8. My brain was thinking ahead. Give me a -4. So I'm going to have x equals -4. Now the way I write my solution is x equals curvy bracket, and then in order from least to greatest, -4, comma 9, curvy bracket, solution set symbols. There's my answer. Okay, let's work another example. We're going to look work number 2, where it's not written in standard form to begin with. I have to get it equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to move the 12 because I can't label my A, B, and C yet because it's not equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides because I need to make it equal to 0. So I have 0 equals, and then I have 2x squared plus 7x minus 9. Now I can label what my A, B, C is. So A is 2, B is 7, C is -9. And now we plug into it. We're plugging into the formula. Excuse me. So I'm going to have -7 plus or minus. You actually don't have to write the parentheses because it's not not negative, it's positive. So I can just do -7 plus or minus all this. So I got to write small to fit it in here. So if you want to do it on a separate sheet of paper, you're welcome to. 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times -9 all over 2 times 2. And here we go. Now we start to simplify. So I'm going to do the 7 squared and multiply all of that and multiply these. So I'm going to have -7 plus or minus the square root of 49. Negative times negative. That's going to be -8 times -9. So that's going to be plus 72 all over 4. And now I'm going to end up with -7 plus or minus the square root of 144 all divided by 4. And now we break it up. So we're going to have here now x equals -7 plus 12 divided by 4, and x equals -7 minus 12 divided by 4. And now we simplify. So I'm going to have 5 over 4 excuse me, 5 over 4, and then I'm going to also have that's not right. It's supposed to be 121 underneath here. I can't obviously add. This is supposed to be 121, which means this is 11, not 12. So you got to pay attention to your multiplication. So that's going to give me 4 divided by 4, which means x equals 1. So here I'm going to have -18 divided by 4, which that's going to give me -9/2. So my answer is x equals curvy bracket -9/2, comma 1. You could also write -4.5 and it would be accepted. Okay, next example. We're going to flip it back because here we've got either a fraction or a whole number as an answer, or an integer and a whole number. We're going to talk, they're not going to always end up that way. They're not going to end up as decimals that end when you calculate it. So we're going to flip this over and we're going to look at one where it's an irrational solution, which means it's a decimal that never ends. So the thing here is you're going to remember you always round to the hundreds, the hundredths, the hundredths. Okay, so now we just remember the formula. x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. If you want to, you can Google the YouTube video of how to learn how to sing this formula. 2a, because you used to have to memorize the formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's not me singing it, it's just knowing it. Okay, so now it's already equal to 0. We're just going to work 9 so we can make this a little bit easier. And I'm going to label my a. A is 1, b equals 4, c equals 1. So now we plug and chug. All right, so I'm going to have x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. Now we simplify. I have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 all over 2. And I have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 12 all divided by 2. This is where we get into it being different, because 12 is not a perfect square. I can't take the square root of it. That's going to give me an irrational solution. So we split it up. Excuse me. So I'm going to end up with negative 4 plus the square root of 12 all divided by 2. And I'm also going to have negative 4 minus the square root of 12 all divided by 2. We're going to take and we are going to punch this exactly into the calculator. The thing to remember is you have to have the numerator in parentheses. You have to put the numerator in parentheses. All right, so now we're going to punch it in. Move the paper to this side because it allows it to be seen a little bit better. All right, so in the calculator, let me get out of this. Looks clear. Okay, so I'm going to punch in. I'm going to do open parentheses, negative 4, not minus 4, negative 4 minus the square root. That's the x squared. See the blue square root symbol above it? So you're going to press the second button and then x squared. And then we're going to punch the number. We're going to see how the cursor is underneath the radical sign still. I need to get out of that. So I'm going to arrow over to the right. So it's no longer underneath the radical symbol. And now I'm going to close my parentheses. Divided by 2. Enter. And now I get my answer. And my answer is, and we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. So this is going to be negative 3.73. Because I look at the 2 to round to the 3 correctly. All right. Now, a trick in the calculator, so I don't have to retype the whole thing, is if I hit second, enter, notice how it says entry above it? That means it's going to retype everything I said. So I'm going to hit second entry, and you notice it just repeats it. It just retypes it. Now all I have to do is arrow back in here and change the minus to a plus, and it recalculates it. So now we have this answer as x equals negative 0.26. So my final answer is x equals, which one's the bigger, the smaller of these, the negative 3.7. So I have curvy bracket, negative 3.73, comma, negative 0.0. I didn't round correctly. 0.26 is supposed to be 0.27. Supposed to be 0.27 because the 6 behind the 7 behind the 6 causes it to round up to 7 curvy bracket. This is my answer. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure that you pause and repeat or come ask me. Y'all have a great day.